Okay, so welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm talking about a massive news story that broke recently. But before I continue, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Fashion Roadman for all your fashion news. So a Nike executive, Ann Hebert, who was responsible for North American operations, has recently stepped down after a report came out of her son, who's actually a well-known reseller. In some of the reports, it talks about how he would use his mum's phone as well as her Amex credit card to make reselling purchases and to do his business transactions. The craziest part about all of this is Anne has been with Nike as a whole for 25 years, which is a really long time. So it's crazy that she had to step down all of a sudden just because of basically something her son did. Now, what actually caused this effect and her having to step down was there was an article on Bloomberg Businessweek that was actually looking at her son, and her son's name is Joe Hebert. And this article, I'll leave it in the description below, but it talks about how he's a college dropout who started reselling, who started making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month from reselling, and it really looked into his business. And apparently he didn't want them to mention anything about his mother being a Nike exec, and when they did, he cut like ties and communication with them, which is crazy. So since this article came out, of course there was a lot of backlash online with people asking the question, if Nike has a zero tolerance policy for resellers and reselling, that why is it that this kid who has a mother who's basically an exec at Nike, why does she still have a job and things like that? And a lot of people are speculating that her stepping down is proof that Nike has a zero tolerance policy to reselling, but I don't particularly agree, because at the end of the day, in this report, in the Bloomberg report, they talk about how Anne disclosed her son's business to Nike in 2018, and they didn't do anything about it because they found that there was no conflict of interest, which makes absolutely no sense. How in the world can someone be an exec at Nike and then their son is a reseller for a living and there's no conflict of interest? So really, I think at Nike, they don't really care about those things, and they swept it under the rug for so long. The only reason why they weren't able to sweep this one under the rug was because it was so out in the public sphere and there was so much backlash. And at the end of the day, something people need to understand is that Nike is $1 billion company. They're not going to let backlash because of one employee get in the way of their billion. So if they need to let go of an employee, even if she's been there for 25 years, it's something that I don't think they'll have a hard time doing. And it makes me ask the question, how many more kids are there that have parents that are execs at Nike who resell and kind of leverage their parents' connections to help them in the reselling business? Now, Joe has an online sort of personality called West Coast Joe. And a lot of the backlash that came was especially around the fact that he has 6 pairs of the rare Nike Air Mags. And in a statement, he said he'd randomly discovered them in a storage unit in January 2020, which makes absolutely no sense. How do you randomly stumble across Air Mags? That makes absolutely no sense. And there was even a source that claimed that Joe would buy pairs in large quantities from Nike outlets using his mother's discount and then resell them later. Now, I think what this whole thing says more than anything else is that Anne's son, so Joe, is just a very stupid person, because I think if you're a reseller and you know your mother is an exec at Nike, you know, if you have any common sense, that there's a conflict of interest. You know that. Whether Nike swept it under the rug or not, these things are the type of things that will always come to the light eventually. And I think for someone like him to be so much in the public eye is just very stupid. I think he should have just been silent and made his money in silence. I think it comes from this whole culture, and I know he's 19, 18 years old, and I know a lot of people that age, they get stuck and lost in like the clout of social media. And that's why you see him on social media like posting pictures of like 100 pairs of sneakers. I don't think at that age he's thinking enough about the implications of what he's doing, being in the public eye with the role that his mother has, and now it's led to his mother losing her job essentially. And the thing is, by him using his mother's credit card, all it shows is that his mother obviously knew what was going on, and there was even a report that said, like I said earlier, she disclosed the information to Nike in 2018 and they did nothing about it. So his mother knew, and it makes his mother complicit in anything that he was doing, even if she necessarily wasn't involved in the business side of it. And to conclude my thoughts on this brief video, I think at the end of the day, I don't think reselling is bad. Reselling is not something that is illegal. I think in the business world, it is really a dog-eat-dog world, and people get money the way they can when it comes to business. However, I think there's such a huge conflict of interest when your mother is a VP at Nike that you should just choose a different career that isn't going to have a conflict of interest with what your mother does. And I think to be bold as to go and have a story with Bloomberg, knowing fully well what your mother's job is, I just thought that was really stupid. But I want to know, comment down below your thoughts on this matter. It's just a quick video. I thought it was really big news, which is why I wanted to make the video. And I should be back with another video very soon.